Hello, in this video, I'm going to talk about blood typing. So when we talk about blood types, we are talking about what combination of antigens are on the surface of the red blood cells. So antigens are like little markers on the surface of a cell or on a bacteria or other things that identify what that thing is in a lot of cases. But it's a way that the immune system can sort of identify something and whether we should attack it or not. So there are actually at least 100 different antigens on the surface of red blood cells. And we group those antigens into what we call blood groups. And so those are ways of identifying which antigens are on the surface of those cells. And so we can determine different types so that we can work on compatibility, like for organ or tissue donations. So although there are over 100 antigens and at least 24 different blood groups, and then 2 different types within each group, 2 or more types within, there are 2 blood groups that are most relevant. So the ABO blood group is based on A and B antigens, and the RH blood group is based on the RH antigen. So those are the 2 that I'm going to focus on here. So the ABO blood group is based on the A and B antigens. So a blood cell either has A antigens, B antigens, both, or neither. And that's what makes our 4 different blood types within the ABO blood group. So that makes type A blood means it has A antigens, type B blood has B antigens, type AB blood has both, and type O blood has neither. Now, depending on which type of blood we have, the body will produce the opposite kind of antibodies. So antibodies meaning little proteins that attach themselves to that type of antigen, and it's a signal for the immune system to destroy that thing. Okay, so if we have type A blood, meaning that we have type A antigens on our blood, then we don't want antibodies that will kill type A blood cells, because that would mean that we destroy our blood cells and we wouldn't survive that. So if you have type A blood, that means you have anti-B antibodies, because we don't have B antigens on the blood cells if you have type A blood. So you develop anti-B antibodies. So that means if someone with type A blood had a transfusion of a different blood type that contained B antigens, then the person's immune system would destroy that transfusion, it would destroy that donation, because the anti-B antibodies are going to destroy any cells that have the B antigen present. Okay, so type A blood has A antigens, and they would have anti-B antibodies. And then type B blood is the opposite. You'd have B antigens with type A antibodies. And then if you have type AB blood, that means that you have the A antigens and the B antigens, which means you don't have either type of antibody. Because if you have both types of antigens, you can't have anti-A or anti-B antibodies, because then you would destroy those cells. And then type O means that you don't have A or B antigens, which means that you would develop both types of antibodies in the blood. So then we get to the idea of universal recipients and universal donors. So a universal recipient would be somebody with AB blood, and that's because they don't have anti-A or anti-B antibodies in their blood. So if you don't have either type of antibody, that means that you could receive from type A blood, type B blood, type AB, or type O. And whichever kind, you don't have A or B antibodies that would destroy that blood. So those people can receive blood from any of the 4 types. Universal donors are type O blood. That's because they don't have A or B antigens on the cells. So regardless of what type of antibodies the recipient has, it doesn't matter, because they don't have the A or B antigens on their blood cells. But a universal donor, somebody with type O blood, has both anti-A and anti-B antibodies, which means that someone with type O blood can only receive from type O, because if they got type A, B, or AB, they have antibodies that would destroy those types of blood cells. So universal donors can donate to anyone, but they can only receive from type O. Now, with all that said, there are other factors that need to be considered for a tissue and organ donation. How many factors need to be aligned depends on what the procedure is and what the donation is. But it requires more than just what blood type are you to determine compatibility. And then Rh blood group, Rh stands for Rhesus Factor. And so it's one antigen and it either is present or it isn't. And that's where the positive or negative comes from. So if it's present, then it's positive. If it's negative, or if it's not present, then it's negative. So if we add together, if we put these together, the ABO blood group and the Rh blood group all together, we have 8 possible blood types. Because you can have AB positive or negative, A positive or negative, B positive or negative, and O positive or negative. Now, 85% of the US population is positive. So 85% has the Rh factor on their blood. And that rate is different in different areas of the world and different populations. It could be as high as 97 to 99% positive. So negative blood types are relatively rare, just kind of depending on where in the world you are. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.